You've likely approached weight loss multiple times and not had success. This video will highlight the missing link to why weight loss is not working for you and help get you on the right track so you can achieve your weight loss goals. Hey Wellness Warrior, I'm Dr. Nick Zarowski, and weight loss is a tricky topic. Many people approach it, many people fail at it, and I don't want you to be one of them. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the key pillars to finding success with weight loss. The first thing that we want to consider here is turning your body into a fat burner. And this is going to be one of the very important concepts because your body will run on two different fuel systems. One is going to be sugar and one's going to be fat. The issue is when you continually fuel your body with sugar through the source of actual sugar or carbohydrates, then essentially what happens is your body stays in the sugar burning mode. And if you don't get your body to come over to the fat burning side, then you essentially never start to lose weight because your body has to be a fat burner in order to burn fat from the body. So let's talk about the things that are blocking you from being a fat burner and keeping you a sugar burner. Now, if we want to stop burning sugar for energy and turn to fat, the first thing that is quite obvious that we have to do is we have to cut sugar out of our diet. Now, this can be tricky, right? Because many times when we think about cutting sugar from our diet, we think about taking spoonfuls of sugar out of the sugar dish and putting it in a coffee or into a dessert or whatever it is. But the fact is sugar tends to be in everything. Sugar is oftentimes in canned vegetables from the store, it's in breads, it's in so many different food products that most people are consuming every single day. And so you have to start reading labels and you have to understand that sugar can actually come in over 125 different forms. So when you start reading labels, look for that "-ose" at the end of it, and that's a good indication that it's a sugar, such as sucrose and fructose or dextrose or all the different forms of sugar. So we have to make sure we're cutting sugar out. This is the key concept into becoming a fat burner. Once you go sugar-free and you start reading labels and pulling all of that out of your diet, the next thing you want to pay your attention to is carbohydrates. Because the issue is if you're eating carbohydrates in the form of highly processed and refined carbs like a white bread or a pasta or bagels or many of these other really poor quality foods out there, well, unfortunately, that is just going to skyrocket your blood sugar. But that's not the only thing we want to focus on. We want to focus on how much. And there's a good chance that you're going to have to start cutting your carbohydrate intake down to 100 grams or less, or even 50 grams or less. And if you're somebody who's insulin resistant, you may have to even cut down to 25 grams or less in order to start turning yourself into a fat burner and losing weight. One of the other considerations when you talk about both carbohydrates and sugar is you really have to pay attention to what kinds of foods that you're eating. And this is when you start to consider your macronutrients. Macronutrients refer to how much fat you're eating, how much protein you're eating, and these are very important to consider because when you lack the proper amount of fats in your diet or lack the proper amount of protein in your diet, you tend to crave more carbs and sugar. So what I want you to really focus on as you're eating is eating a high protein diet. And if you're not sure how much protein to consume, you can start with taking your ideal body weight. Let's say if you maybe even weigh 160 pounds, but you want to get down to 120 pounds, then 120 pounds would be your ideal body weight. And you would take your ideal body weight and you would times that by 0.8, and that is how many grams of protein that you should be consuming. If you keep your protein up, you have a far less likelihood of craving the carbs and the sugar. Now, what else can we do if we want to make ourselves a fat burner? Well, we can actually start exercising. Exercising is key to good health. If you are not exercising, then you have an exercise deficiency in your body. And exercising is not only going to help keep our blood sugar down and start just working like a mop to soak up all the sugar that is floating in the blood, it'll also help us get closer to being a fat burner. So we should be exercising every single day, at the very least a 30-minute fast-paced walk. If you can do some cardio, if you can do some weight training, that's all very good. But at the very least, if you're not exercising at all, a 30-minute brisk walk a day will be sufficient. It's better than doing nothing at all. Now, the other thing we want to consider too is calories, right? Because a lot of people say, hey, look, I have this great diet. I cut out all the sugar. I went low carb, but yet I still can't lose weight. This is another factor you have to consider. If you don't know how many calories that you should be eating, then you certainly should look into this. What you could do is you can go to a website like calculator.net and you can put in your information, your age, how much activity you have throughout the day, how much you currently weigh, and they will actually give you a calculation to what you should roughly be eating for calories every day if you want to maintain your weight, if you want to lose your weight, and it'll give you a broad scope as to what you can start functioning at. And what happens is if you're consuming too many calories every day, well, you're putting too much fuel in the system. What does your body do if you put too much fuel in every day? Well, it takes that fuel and it stores it. And it stores it as fat because our bodies are smart and it's supposed to do that. And when your body is storing all this extra fuel as fat, it's doing so as a survival mechanism because who knows, you might not get food for a few days because this is how our bodies had to survive in primal times. So knowing the amount of calories you're supposed to be consuming is very important. This is where I see a lot of people mess up. They clean up the carbs, they start exercising, they cut out the sugar, they eat a good healthy diet, but yet they're just eating too much food. You can eat healthy food and eat too much of it and it'll totally stop your weight loss. So you want to be in a calorie deficit in order to start losing weight. I personally like about a 500 calorie a day deficit. You don't want to go extreme because it'll cause a lot of hunger issues. It'll cause you to crash. So anywhere between a 250 and 500 calorie deficit per day is a good place to be to put you on a good track for weight loss. Now, let's say you want a little bit more. Here's what I do in order to get a little bit further support, because here's the reality is that there's weight loss drugs going around and they are the hottest things out there. Unfortunately, they are causing a lot of health conditions for people, whether it's thyroid cancer, pancreatitis, or even paralysis of the gastrointestinal systems. The reality is that these are drugs and they have side effects and you have to be careful for that stuff. So due to the popularity of these different weight loss drugs, I understand that people are looking for that further support. So here's what I use clinically for further support to help you with fat burning. What I use is a specialized form of berberine. And the reason that it's specialized is because it's actually 5 times more bioavailable than regular berberine. The problem with berberine in general is that it stays in the gut and it doesn't actually get into your system so that you can actually start to benefit through lower blood sugar. So when you use a specialized form of berberine, it's going to help with a few things. It's going to act on the GLP-1 hormone, which actually helps with satiety. It is going to help lower your blood sugar, which is going to help lower insulin levels, which ultimately means that you can start tapping into burning fat for energy. So this is why I use a specialized form of berberine. I'll put a link in the description below. I'm finding that it works very well. Not only is it 5 times more bioavailable, but it actually has an extended release process, meaning that when you take it, it actually helps keep your blood sugar lower for long periods of time. So this is something that we're using quite a bit clinically, and it's working very well. So if you put all of this together, and then you even use that further support, which I said I put a link in the description below for, so you can check that out, learn more about it, start utilizing it, stay off the pharmaceuticals that have all the nasty side effects. You put all this together and it really is the perfect puzzle to help you lose weight, burn belly fat, and ultimately have the body that you want. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video next.